Hey everyone, welcome to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, the free to play. Today is the 5th, and it's still going to be the 5th. I mean, it's like 30 minutes to midnight because reasons, but it's a good day. Could have been better, as I think is the case with most days, but things are rarely simple. I wouldn't say things are never simple. It's like things are rarely simple. And quite honestly, I think that's why we keep focusing on the negative. I think I talked about this a couple days ago. But I think that's why people. I mean, I don't go around looking for negative stuff to deal with. Like, um, this issue that we had over these past couple months with our former foster son and his mom needing childcare and a daycare not being available. It was super stressful. And I kept complaining about it, and I kept looking for answers, trying to find answers, and because it was super stressful, and um, it felt like it was robbing joy out of my life. And if you're not you're that's like, and if you're new to this and you don't really hear me because some of this I tend to put more on the Daily Show, but I'm just doing it for whatever reason here. Bear with me, but and if you don't know the backstory, I'll just so back in so our foster son went home, and he was about 18 months. He went home in December back to his mom. And we had a good Christmas. We had about 5 week break, and then in January we started getting this Midwest, just brutally cold winter. And then we got our current foster baby, like during this time. And then I think it was around February, my former foster son's mom got a job, and she didn't have childcare. So, me being the person that I am, I volunteered my services, thinking that it would only be like a few weeks. Or, actually, I shouldn't say I shouldn't say hoping. I should say thinking. I shouldn't say I was thinking that, because I wasn't. I was hoping it would be. But then back in my mind, I was like, this is going to be a while. And so we're dealing with this, just really cold, really wet winter, early spring period, where I'm having to take my kids to school 3 days a week. Where I have this baby that's crying all the time because he wasn't as well adjusted as he is now, and former foster son so my kids that are in school were on a different schedule. The baby was on a different schedule, and the former foster son was on a different schedule. So there's 4 kids. It's cold. I'm having to load both. Because our former foster son can walk, but the baby can't. So I would have to carry the baby, and usually I would have to carry the former foster son out and put them in their vehicle, and then my kids could get themselves in, and we'd go wherever, school, wherever the other two needed to be. And it was just very awkward because the baby would sleep, the 16-month-old would sleep, different times, different schedules, all this stuff. And it was very stressful. And we did that from basically the beginning of February till right when we left for vacation. This was my life. And even when we left, right before we left for vacation, it was still cold here. And I was still, but my kids had gotten out of school just prior to leaving for vacation. And of course, they were still going through their adjustment for the coming up from school and all this fun stuff. So there's that. And, just other stresses that you don't think about, or you usually don't think about. What are there? And so I would routinely come on here, or just events in general, to anybody who would listen about the struggles that I was going through. And I was texting all these people, texting everybody I knew to try to find daycare, and it just wasn't available until we went on vacation. And, the reason I was complaining about it, because I was like venting, and I was wanting, it's not like it was something I wanted to try to focus on, because it was just creating a lot of stress. And even though I don't have a former foster son anymore to deal with, I'm still dealing with, my children are still kind of detoxing from school, because, when they're the age where my son is constantly wanting to wrestle, constantly wanting to, he's 6. And he's hitting his sister, and so I'm having to teach, or trying to explain to him, hey, don't hit your sister. Girls don't like, you can't hit girls. And then Steve dealing with the girl who has issues of her own that she's dealing with, and then the baby, and then other issues. And this is, who I talked about it, because it's not a huge deal. It's not, I don't feel like it was nearly as big a deal as the thing with the foster son was. And it's much more manageable. So, from that aspect, things are a lot better, but I think, the reason why we tend to focus on the negative in our life is because we're like, why does it have to be like this? Why can't it not be this way? And I get that, because I'm trying, I'm always trying to, okay, how do I make this a little bit easier? How do I make this easier to deal with? What am I missing? And it's one of those things that'll drive you nuts. And it does drive me nuts, because it's not pleasant to deal with at all. It's very in your face, and it's very personal. And there are a number of things that go on in my daily life that drive me crazy, and that I wish weren't this way. And I've tried with everything within my personal power to make sure they don't happen, but I don't have enough money to control that. And so sometimes they tend to spend the way I don't want them to spend. which causes even more stress. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take steps to make stuff not harder than it needs to be. Because at the beginning of the year, if you're new to the channel, I had a couple of phrases that I felt like were given to me and that I wanted to try to go forth and persevere with. And given that we just crossed the half a year mark of the year, it's probably a pretty good time to reset this. And the first one is make space. And that's what I had to do for the first part of the year, with first half of the year with the 4 kids, was I had to make space for all of them. And, we only had 2 kids when we started. Then we went to 4, and now we're back down to 3. And it's, so space that wasn't there early in the year or at the beginning of the year is there now. And then lead. I admit, I've always been struggling with being a leader. I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like. And I'm taking steps off camera to try to move forward with that in a very tangible and real way. The third one I got, and the final one that I had early in the year, is all in, meaning don't hold anything back. Leave it all out there. And I did that by, talking to you guys, trying to push forward and try to talk to people and help them resolve this issue that we had, and just try to be the person that I am trying to show my kids back, because I try to as much as I can live by the golden rule. And if you're not familiar with what the golden rule is, it's where you treat others as you want to be treated. So if you want to, if you want somebody to treat you with respect, you treat them with respect, even though they're not treating you with respect. If you're in a relationship, maybe you unload the dishwasher, even though you're not really feeling it. Or you wash some clothes, but even though you're not really feeling up to it. And it's just a very simple way of showing somebody that you care without having to say it. And, I think I've talked about enough about how introverted I tend to be, and how I need, when I could talk to people, but then I need to withdraw, and I need to recharge my batteries before I can go back into the fray. And when you're helping people, you're not having to tell people that you're helping them. It makes you feel good, and you're able to breathe, and because that when you come home, because you've already taken care of the problem, that they're not going to berate you. Whereas if you don't take care of the issue, you let it sit there, and you let them, whoever it is, come home or get back or whatever, and they're like, hey, why don't you unload the dishwasher? Or why don't you do some lunch? Or why didn't you do this, that, and the other? And it's like, because you could be like, well, you didn't ask me to, or you could be like, I didn't feel like it, but what if you just did it, and then it would be done, and you would know what would be done. So it gives you peace of mind knowing that they're not going to be able to come home and berate you because you didn't do something because you were too busy, or you didn't have time. Because I don't have time to unload the dishwasher. I don't have time to do the laundry. But it's like, in between snacks, in between having to discipline my children, in between getting baby food, in between the various running around that we're doing, maybe I have 2 minutes to unload some dishes, or put some bowls away, or put some cups away, or put the silverware away, or put some pots and pans away. You don't have to do it all at once. All you have to do is just do a little bit here, just do a little bit there, and just move forward. But, I think that's really all I talked about. We didn't get any, we got some bits and pieces, but not a whole lot. So I hope what I talked about the golden rule made a little bit of sense. I hope you're able to understand where I'm coming from. If you want to talk more about it, feel free. Hit me up in a comment if you need some more clarification on anything I talked about. Or if you just want to say, hey, you're doing a good job, I appreciate it. Or if you want to tell me, you're a horrible person, I guess that's fair. I mean, it's whatever. But I appreciate all of you. God bless. Make sure you hold the line and remember that I have friends everywhere. I'll see you later. Bye.